So let's talk opening entertainment for the Olympics. There's a lot of controversy brewing in the Christian community right now, and I'm almost ready to catch all of the blowback. We're disagreeing with the overwhelming majority. So let's talk about it today on Justified by Score. Paris opening entertainment consisted of trans individuals giving a performance. There are a lot of things to dissect in this, and of course, with this only being a short video, I would not attempt to address them all. Let's first focus on what we can prove. Can you prove that it was the intent of the opening ceremony, their performance, to depict and make fun of Leonardo da Vinci's painting of the Lord's Supper? Can you? What evidence do you have? Sadly, as Christians have historically done, jumped the gun and assumed on this one. I have searched far and wide. I have not seen any documentation provided by the author or designer of this entertainment piece that would lead me to believe that they were purposely attempting to depict and make fun of the Last Supper. A bad habit of individuals, as always, is to make things about them. They gotta be the main character, and sometimes Christians do it second nature. I have to admit, I almost fell for it myself as well, until I dug a little deeper. Some have argued that it was not a shot at Leonardo da Vinci's depiction of the Last Supper at all. Rather, it was meant to depict an ancient Roman festival honoring Bacchus, the god of wine and revelry, also known as Bacchanalia. These festivals were also known or to have their origins in Greek festivals, which celebrated the god of wine, and ecstasy. So you see where this is going. And to be honest, this makes more sense that this is what they were attempting to recreate. Why? Because just because there was a table, an individual seated across the table, doesn't automatically mean that it was the Last Supper's depiction. If they were, they probably would have been more specific on color schemes and positioning and things of that nature, but they didn't even get that detailed. But they didn't attempt that, not even close. On the flip side, it makes more sense to me that this was a recreation of the Greek festivals, as this was trans individuals clothed in blatant debauchery and prideful of it. I'm not a big fan of what happened, but you know what? I am a big fan of what do you mean? And here's a little snippet from him.
According to the Olympics mission statement, they're supposed to be against any form of discrimination and also opposed to any political abuse of sports and athletes. But as soon as the opening ceremony started, it proved
that was a lie.
They started off the Olympics with things like this, and the one that has people offended the most was this, which appears to be a rendition of the Last Supper of Christ with the disciples, but instead of Jesus and disciples, they were replaced with drag queens, an obvious offense to Christians everywhere. And as you would expect, Christians were incredibly upset by it, and understandably so. The Olympics is supposed to be a time to unite all other countries around the world in the spirit of sports. But instead of uniting, they seem to go out of their way to completely offend 2.6 billion people and make the main focus of the event political as opposed to sports. But it's not just Christians that are seeing this trending problem either. More and more non-Christians and people of other faiths are starting to agree that there seems to be a growing attack on Christianity. And frankly, Christians are sick of having their faith mocked and tired of being undercut and treated without the same respect that the other religions seem to have.
Whether it's Islam or Hinduism, Christianity is the most mocked religion.
And so in response to this problem, most Christians online seem to be saying things like, we need to take a stand and not allow the Olympics to mock our faith.
Now, where I can understand his take on the discrimination part, I don't necessarily agree with his implementation of the term. He says that the opening act is discriminating against Christians, and that should not be allowed. Wait a minute. Hold on. If that's your definition of discrimination, then not allowing them would also be discrimination. Interesting. Now, hear me clearly, though. I do not agree with the methodology, practice, or the principles that this performance was attempting to convey, push off, and cast off as good. But I still have to be intellectually honest and consistent with my definitions and application. I do believe he makes a strong point next, though, that the mission statement of the Olympics is to oppose any political or commercial abuse of sport and athletes. I do believe that according to this standard set by the mission statement of the Olympics or the Olympic Committee, that the performance directly contradicted the mission statement. How? I wasn't shocked because of the ideology has always been trying to be pushed. But I do believe that the performance is in direct contradiction to the Olympic standards because I don't see any trans participants in any of the games, any of the sports. I also want to go on record to say that my personal opinion was that it was in bad taste and I didn't care for it at all. Corey from the Smart Christian channel says that it was demonic.
This was the opening ceremony of the Olympics. This was full of all sorts of mockery and debauchery. This was really an affront to Christians and anyone who has any sort of biblical belief. They're going to watch it, they're going to take it in, and they're going to see all the little periphery things outside of the competition. They'll see the bands, they'll hear the music, they'll see the dancers, they'll see these things, and they're trying to make this commonplace. They are trying to make the things that we are seeing before us make it seem as though it's okay, it's normal. To intentionally mock the Last Supper, to give some sort of apocalyptic theme, I don't know what this is, running across the water, to have the person with the head in his hand and so forth. Now, these are things that they are putting out. Also, by the way, these are things that certain platforms are taking off as though that they're inappropriate. However, if they're appropriate to be shown to other people, I guess it's appropriate depending upon who actually presents it. But these are things that we should not be alarmed. These are things that should not cause us to wonder, to worry. As a matter of fact, as outraged as it might make you, it should invigorate you to want to fight.
I'm almost inclined to agree that it has demonic influence. I also agree with him that individuals in power are attempting to normalize this, and I don't agree with that. I just won't go as far as to say they were absolutely mocking the Lord's Supper because I simply don't know. But I absolutely will address what I do know. And that is, this performance is telling of the moral state that our world is in. But what should a Christian do knowing all of this? Let me start with what a Christian should not do. Christians, you should not be calling for violence. Like I've seen so many individuals and release videos about. Do I believe that the Christian should stand for a biblical standard? Absolutely, yes. And that's how I'm able to say violence is not the answer. There are other biblical mandates that we should take. That's why it is also equally as important for you to get out and vote for the candidate that is not going to strip us of our inalienable rights. Because if we, again, I'm in America, we're in America. In America, if we in America can't protest, can't speak freely, can't redress our grievances to the government, and we can't document these things as free press, and we aren't allowed to assemble and partake in our God-given inalienable rights, then this is not freedom. This is dictatorship. Now, should a Christian boycott the Olympics? Drum roll, please. Okay, that's going to be up to you. This falls under Christian liberty. When the Bible is quiet, I'm quiet. You will have to decide for yourself what the best course of action is. You will only have to answer to yourself on this issue. But if you hold a hard stance because of the entertainment that was employed at the beginning of the Olympics, that you should therefore boycott the Olympics, if that's what you're saying, you're taking the hard stance that because of the entertainment, you should boycott the Olympics. If you're going to be intellectually honest and consistent, then you also have to boycott Pepsi, Coca-Cola, and every place that serves Pepsi and Coca-Cola. And that's only if you were being intellectually honest and consistent, because both of these companies do the exact same thing. Now, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you an honest look at the situation. And this has been another episode of Justified by Score, and I know I'm about to hear it from y'all in the comments. See you there. Until next time, Lord willing, of course, peace and grace.